Yeah, so um yeah, I was just thinking about the Street Fighter video. I don't know how many people are gonna watch this necessarily. But yeah, I was just thinking about my own arcade experiences as a European. Um so let's just say in the 2000s, right? Um like they existed, but we're a small country though. Like 5 million. Norway. We're basically a small, yeah, like 5 million or something. Um, so yeah, like they exist, but and I've talked to people who like in the 90s. They basically like yeah, they used to have like a room full of them. They told me they're like yeah, they used to have that. Um, and I'm like yeah, I don't remember that. I only remember like a couple machines, but yeah, basically, yeah, and it's one of those things where you wish you could remember the first time you saw an arcade machine, because um, yeah, when you grew up though, you pretty much grew up on console though. It wasn't like you were little and you played you knew what a arcade machine was. Did you know what a console was? So this is a PS2 PS2 controller basically. So yeah, I grew up with the PS2 and and the N64, the N64, um, yeah, the N64 has they have they actually have a control problem. They actually have a big control problem. Um, because these right here become worse if you use them. But somebody figured out a solution to them, the analog stick. So yeah, but basically, yeah, I grew up on console. Um, And it's one of those situations where you wish you could remember the first time you saw an arcade machine. Like when you think about it, oh, I wish the first time, and then I could tell about the first time I saw an arcade machine. Kind of because it's yeah, I mean, but yeah, the let's just say it's school class, like school class, and then people at school, and they used to have birthday parties, and basically um, yeah, they used to go to like a bowling place, and they I always wanted to play arcade games. They're like, oh, the people like, oh, you gotta come now. You gotta you're gonna have to come and bowl with us. Bowling, the whole bowling thing. But I wanted to play arcade games more. I wanted to play them instead. So the first thing I used to do at birthday parties, I always wanted to play arcade games because they were so much fun. Um, Even though there was only like two of them. The same place is open now. So the first game was called Time Crisis 2. It's like it's a light gun game. Um, it's pretty fun to play. And the second is called Sega Rally 2. It's a driving game. Um, yeah, pretty much those two. Um, I was in Sweden once, and I saw like an entire room of them, um, like of just machines. So I guess that's how it would have been back in the day. They would have had like um, an entire room of them. Um, yeah, and you don't really remember the first time you saw an arcade machine. You wish you could remember that now and tell about. Oh yeah, I remember the first time, but I really don't remember. Um, but yeah, but I never even in Sweden, I never really. There's certain games I never saw. Like I never saw. I never saw a joystick game like this. Let's just say, um, I never saw like a joystick game. Except one time I was in Sweden, I saw like a joystick game. I think it was Virtua Fighter actually. Virtua Fighter. Um, Virtua Fighter. I played against the guy. Um, there might have been 5 buttons or 4. I can't remember. Is that 6? But yeah, I played against the guy basically on a cabinet. First time I played the game, and yeah, I won against him basically on a cabinet. So that's the only time. That's the only time in Europe I've seen like this kind of joystick and buttons. Um, I know they have stuff in France. They have a lot of these in France. I heard about it. One place in France, they basically have these whatever. So yeah, but usually, yeah, I never saw much of that, like these, but like driving games, yeah, and the light gun game, yeah, light gun games, yeah. So yeah, so yeah, um, yes, it was one of those situations, or one of those situations, but yeah, it's fun. It was fun compared to console because you could there were certain things. There used to be a difference between console and arcade games, though. The arcade version, if there was a console version and then an arcade version, the arcade version, um, I mean, the Time Crisis game though was different because that actually had worse graphics on arcade and better graphics on console. And usually it was the opposite for a long time. The arcade version would have better graphics and better sound, but but there are some things where people say, yeah, I actually prefer the arcade version in whatever the music or how it plays or whatever is in whatever about it. Um, there are things like that where you have people who prefer whatever version. Um, yeah, but basically, yeah. Then, yeah, but there were certain points like I used to go very often. I can't remember specifically. Like there might have been like you know I went every week for a month, or I went. Um, yeah, I used to go a lot. I don't remember how much, but I didn't go every day. If arcades would have still been popular in Europe, like they are in Asia, they're still popular over there. If they were still popular in Europe, like if they have would have had an entire room of them, I'm probably I don't know about every day. Well, maybe. Who knows, right? Um, who actually knows? Because it's fun. Um, they, they, it's different than playing on console. The console tends to be like more slow games. They have fast games too, and PC they have something called FPS, so first person shooter, and that's kind of arcade-ish. So it's fast gameplay, it's fun gameplay. But yeah, I used to go quite a lot playing just these two machines, and they have the same plays now, but they have different machines. They're probably really fun, but I have not played them very much. One driving game, I kind of yeah, that game is kind of fun though. I've played it before, and I played the older version of it. So, and the older version used to be one of the highest, one of the arcade games that made the most money. Daytona, USA. It's called. Um, yeah, but they switched games though. Yeah, but I used to go quite a lot, even though they only had 2 games. They were fun to play, and it's different though because you actually have to use money. Like so, money is on the line. So when you play, like you don't want to lose because if you lose, you pretty much you can't. First of all, you can't pause the game, right? So for kids, for people who are younger, on console, you basically there's the pause button. In an arcade game, you can't pause the game, so you have to play without pausing. And if you lose, you can't just okay continue, right? Press the continue without money. No, you have to spend more money. So they get you what you had to get good to not lose in the game. That's how arcade games are. You kind of have to get good at them and to survive in the game. To not lose in the game. So it's different than playing on console. Um, and console multiplayer is fun too. Let's just say 2 player. Console multiplayer is fun too. But arcade, yeah, there's a different atmosphere. So even though it was only like 2 games, the atmosphere was always whether it was in the game or yeah, it was something compared to console. So yeah, yeah, it was so fun. You wanted to go, even though it only was like 2 games, you still wanted to go because it was so fun, right? hmm I wonder if arcades would have survived like they did in Asia. They've kind of survived in Asia, and they're still actually really popular over there. Well, they used to be, but now since COVID, they closed a lot of them, but it's still kind of a thing over there. So, um, yeah, it's always different to consoles, and yeah, it's just a different atmosphere, I guess. Um, to put it that way. Um, Even though you didn't grow up when it was like really big, like they have an entire room of machine. No, it wasn't like that, but it was fun enough that you wanted to pretty much go. Um, and yeah, one of the games, the time crisis games, you actually had to get the highest score, right? So that was yeah, that was kind of the thing about it, is to get the highest score though. And one time, one time a guy actually, well, I was a kid actually, but I was playing and he tried to interrupt my game. He let's just say he was like went like he did something like this, like in front of the screen when I was playing. I remember that. Um, to try to interrupt or try to be like, I don't know why though, but that actually happened. So, but it's whatever. I guess people do that. Um, for some reason. But yeah. Even though it was only like 2 games, you pretty much wanted to go because it was fun. The gameplay was fun, right? So yeah, and then you pretty much yeah, of course you start like oh, what arcade systems are there, and you figure like okay, oh, this game runs at this resolution and all kinds of stuff. Um, you kind of know stuff about it. Um, so well, I really don't know how to end this video though. Um, I think I said everything I wanted to say about it. Um, yeah, I do wonder if that would have been popular in Europe, how it would have been like. Because if they would have had an entire room of them still, um, I talked to people though, and they told me like from this country, but I mean basically they said like yeah, in the 90s they had like a room of them. They told me they used to have a room of them or at whatever. So they told me so yeah, but I don't know how to end this video though. Maybe um, yeah, Sega they've made the most arcade games out of everyone. So, but it's a shame. I never saw like this kind of setup. I never came across this joystick and button setup. I only came across driving games and light gun, but I never came across this setup in Europe. Like this joystick and button in Europe, except one time in Sweden. One time I saw one cabinet in Sweden. So, but yeah, I don't know how to end the video though. I really don't. But I guess that's the video or something.